Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Transit Tarmackers. Right, Nate, today we're going to be talking about Chris Corn's Worcester City job, what happens in a manager's office, and the Houser and Coleshill game the other day. Before I get started, Nate, I just want to start by saying we must have some people in the hierarchy listening to our podcast, because did we not push Chris Cords to get this Worcester City job?
Yeah, to be fair, I think we take full responsibility for that, to be honest. Steve Good, you can thank us later, mate, no problem.
And did we turn around and say about Alverchurch needing to be on TV in the FA Cup?
Yeah, we did, and what happened, mate?
So if anyone else is looking for a job or wants a job higher in the pyramid, I think you should drop me a little DM or Nathan DM, and 90% your dreams are going to come true at the end of the day.
Yeah, we make dreams come true at the end of the day. It's a reality. Look at the thing, BBC, Alverchurch, happy days, can't say nothing, game over.
Okay, we're going to start with Christopher Corns, the new Worcester City manager. There's so many things I want to say, but I don't know where to start in a minute now, so I'm going to give you the floor a little bit. I think the obvious thing to say is probably well deserved.
Oh, massively well deserved. Like we said before in the previous episode, I can't remember what episode it was, but we mentioned obviously Worcester City going for a local manager, someone that's actually done bits in the game, etc. And thankfully Worcester City have finally listened to the majority of people in terms of the public. You look at Twitter, the amount of people, not just us, saying his name in terms of the job. It was a no-brainer, weren't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think one thing I will say is, I think when I started giving it the Worcester City needs to go get Chris Corns, it was a bit 50-50. There was a few people that saying no because of his past, and no, we need someone more experience, blah, blah, etc. But since he's got the job, I could probably count maybe 2 comments out of the 50-60 I've read that wasn't happy. And then people weren't not happy. It was just more, it wouldn't be their first choice. I think the rumours was going around at one point, Mark Owen was going to get the job. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And I think Steve Good, Tim Harris, whoever's made that decision, honest to God, I know he's one of our close mates, but I really honestly believe that's probably the best appointment out there.
Yeah, I believe so. Like I said, in terms of obviously local talent, bringing local players, he is the type of bloke that as a manager you want him to want to play for him, etc. So fair play Tim Harris, Steve Good, well done on that one, mate.
Talking about local talent, Nath, I've wrote 4 names down here which are realistic targets that potentially Cornsey will go for. Kyle Balmott for me. He's going to love the fact that we gave him a little shout on here. He's a proper social media freak, isn't he? He loves it all. So Kyle Balmott absolutely smashing it at Evesham at the minute. I don't know where he's got it from. He's turned into a bit of a goal machine now.
Yeah, I think he's playing as just in behind the striker. Good old Crow-Nosler. But Cole's a very good player, to be honest. He's still young. He's got obviously a bright future in terms of him in football. Whether he progresses quite a lot or not, I don't know. I think that's more down to him. But at the moment, he's, like you said, he's smashing at Evesham, and I think he's established himself to be a very good player in the non-league circuit.
Yeah, 100%. And just to add on to that, I know Kyle might want to stay at Evesham and whatnot, but Cornsey might give it the old, you either sign for City or you lose your job, because they work together.
Yeah, he'd probably give him the tin tack, wouldn't he?
I've also got Dylan Hart wrote down here. Obviously, apart from myself, probably the best striker in the Worcester at the minute. No, he's definitely grown on me. Obviously, I heard quite a lot about Dylan Hart going back 3 or 4 years ago, but didn't get the pleasure of seeing him play because a lot of it was Sunday League, and now seeing him scoring goals, I do keep an eye on him, watching the highlights, and I think if Cornsey could work his magic, that would be a great signing. Once again, another bit of local talent.
Yeah, of course. No, obviously, you look in terms of social media, if it's Beauty he's playing for, the goals he's scoring. You know, obviously he's come from Redditch there, so he's obviously ticking the right boxes in certain aspects, and obviously Chris Corns sees something in Dylan for him to obviously sign him for him. So yeah, I can see that move happening. To be honest.
Now these two, I don't know how Worcester City fans would react to these. Jordan stood up. Now I know Jordan probably didn't leave on the best terms at Worcester at the time, but by all accounts, speak to a few people and speak to Chris himself. Jordan's been outstanding for Bewley since he signed from. He's been a massive part of why they have kept clean sheets or they have gone on to win games.
Yeah, 100%. You know what you get with studs? It's head and kick. As much as you try fingers at the ball sometimes and completely lamb-shanks it, but from what I've heard, since he signed for Bewley, he's been smashing it. And he had a bad looking lad, to be fair, is he?
No, not too bad. The only problem I got with him, he always seems to try and bring out these preds and that for a centre half, and I ain't too sure about that. And the last one, wow, Kion Evans. I think he's already had 2 stints at Worcester. One when he was in the north. He's probably one of the only people that got a chance as a younger kid. And obviously his second spell when they were dropping down the leagues. He's been scoring goals. I wouldn't call him an out-and-out striker, Nate, but he's been scoring goals. But when Cornsey left Bewley, I saw a little Instagram post of Kion with a cigar in his hand saying that's me retired. Now, do you believe that, Nate? Or could you see another Worcester City return? Or could, I don't know. So I think with Stods and Kion, I think if they did go to Worcester, I think they'd have to probably get the fans back on side again.
Yeah, personally, I think they both should put out a public apology, to be honest. But I think they'll be fine, to be honest. I think everyone's got to expect Chris is going to want to bring in his own players. He's got his own philosophy in terms of football. In terms of Kion as a football player, he might not score week in, week out. He scored the last couple of weeks, though. So yeah, to be fair, but what his all-round game is, he brings people into play. He holds the ball up very well. So yeah, he's got good attributes as a striker apart from the goal scoring aspect.
Firmino, basically, Nave. That's what you're trying to say. Well, that's the 4 people I got, Nave. You got anyone off the top of your head now? I know I'm putting you on the spot. They're the 4 people. They were the first 4 people that come into the top of my head. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about me, you, and Brad because at the minute us three's very settled at Howes Owen, and we won't be budging anytime soon. But yeah, they're the 4 people off the top of my head. Can you think of anyone off the top of your head?
To be honest, mate, no. I was going to say us 3, but that's about it, to be honest.
Well, at the minute, I think Cornsey very, very clever. Now, once again, this is me from my own head. This is probably not going through Cornsey's head. It might be, it might not be. But he's took job over at Bewley where they were favourites to get relegated, and they every year their thing was just to stay up. Now he's left them 9th in the table, 10th in the table. He's taken over Worcester City at 17th. If the 2 teams underneath win their games in Nave, he goes 19th. They go out of 20th. So for me, it's a no-brainer because you keep Worcester City up this year, get them just under mid-table. That's a success for me.
Yeah, 100%. I think Cornsey are trying to achieve a bit more than that. Obviously, like I said, I'd say he'd be trying to achieve mid-table, do the best he possibly can. Main objective is to keep them up, but yeah, I'd say that's a successful season considering where they've been at.
Yeah, and I think next year, then with the expertise that Cornsey will fulfil at Worcester City, because we've got no disrespect for Bewley, the budget he was working on, he kind of had to, he brought his own players in, but he had to work his magic with the best he had at the time, and he's done a cracking job. So obviously it's no secret that Worcester City's budget is obviously 3 or 4 times bigger than Bewley's. So if he could implement the players he wants and the style of play that he wants to play, I think next year they've got to be up there to potentially get promoted or definitely be challenging.
Yeah, 100%. Knowing Cornsey, he'd wanted to achieve things, especially at his hometown club, which he obviously played at also as well. Yeah, for me, obviously keep him up this year, and next year you've got to go for the title, really, promotion.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this off the top of my head once again. This isn't Cornsey's words, but it would not surprise me then, Nath, if he does that with Worcester City. He gets them up into a promotion challenging side, whether he goes up or he gets up there or it's close. It wouldn't surprise me then if you had a Stratford, a Stourbridge, a Redditch, or someone like that. If a managerial position come up, I think that will be the next move for him. I know we're running at the minute, Nate, before we can walk, because he hasn't actually achieved anything as a Worcester City manager at the minute, but that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. Not with the knowledge and everything that he knows. He was one hell of a player himself, wasn't he? So
yeah, he was okay. I think one thing that we hadn't talked about, which is at the minute the attendances at Worcester City has been probably the lowest it's been in a very long time, and having a Worcester-based manager bring in Worcester talent on top of getting results, you could only see them attendances doubling.
Yeah, 100%. You think obviously signing local players, their friends, etc., family are going to want to come and watch also. So you've got to look at the amount of people that's going to watch other local players come as well.
Yeah, I think on the end of that, I think all we can say, Nate, is it's going to really pain me to say this, but I am now like a Worcester City fan, and the last time I said that I was about 16. So yeah, I really hope Worcester go and do things, and I really hope Chris goes and proves a lot of doubters out there, and he goes and smashes it.
Yeah, I hope he does really well there, to be fair. And if he, obviously, depending on what happens this season, if he wants to have a chat, get your one out, Cornsey lad.
Okay, this one is what happens in a manager's office. I've got a few things wrote down here. I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about them, but I am. So, in a manager's office, Nate, when you go into a manager's office, what do you see in a manager's office normally?
You see tactic boards, notes written down in terms of obviously formations, etc., set pieces, obviously God knows whatever they're into, bottles of wine.
Well, based on a Howes Owen office, when Paul Smith was in charge for the first 3 months of the season, I reckon I got called in there at least 5 or 6 times. And what I saw in there was obviously they had a little mini fridge which had waters and beers in, and they had chocolate in there as well. But yeah, I got dragged in there a few times, 3 or 4 times, based on the things I was putting on Twitter that the gaffer at the time probably wasn't really happy with, but he just respected I am who I am, and I know things will backfire on me, but I'm big enough to kind of take that. And we had one falling out before me and Smudger, but it ended good in the manager's office. Just maybe sometimes being a bit too passionate, things I say, it comes across a bit strong sometimes. But yeah, that's the manager's office mainly is you're either in there to be told you're starting or what you want to do, or you're in there to be told off.
Yeah, there's one or two things really, I know. At the end of the day, you either get the bomb squads, whether you're starting, like you said, being told off, like you had to smack the ass, all sorts like. But to be fair, Smudger, we had a good selection of sweets in there as well, so I'll take that.
Look, I was going to say, lucky enough so far, I don't think I'll put a foot wrong under Craig and Socks. I haven't been invited in there yet, so yeah. Nave, obviously when you've been at Kiddie full time in the past, obviously Mark Yates was your manager, Bromsgrove, Stourport, can you ever remember going in, even if it was like contract talks, or was there anything you can remember obviously going into a manager's office, and anything that stands out to you personally?
Well, depends whether they kicked off before you've gone in or not. Whether it's all nice and tidy or the place is absolutely smashed up to pieces, but not majorly. I've gone in a couple of times in terms of the tactic board, and they've either tongue-poed the shit out of it, or it's just general stuff, to be honest. What about you?
I had a bad one once. I was at Hibs, and we come home for a weekend and decided to travel back up at 11 at night, and I got in at 4 in the morning because of the traffic, and I overslept. And I remember getting to training late, and I was running out onto the training pitches, and everyone was just about to start, and Alan Stubbs said to me, he said, we'll have a word after in the office, Insel. So obviously when you get told that from a manager, Nath, you can't concentrate on training for the rest of it. No. So after, I kind of never went in, and the next day I never went in, and I thought I got away with it. Then he said, you haven't come and saw me, and I went in there and I bricked it a little bit, and he was like, where was you? And I had a bit of a rollicking, to be fair, and I got half a week's wage fine. So yeah, I think if a manager calls you in and you've been scoring goals, or you're doing really well, or you've done something amazing, you can't wait to go in and speak to him. You can't wait to get that praise. But if you've done something wrong, or the worst ones is saying, can you come and see me, and you have no clue, and all the lads are looking at you saying, oh, you're shitting yourself. And then the best thing is when you come out, all the players look at you, what's happened, and you've got to kind of keep a straight face and not tell nobody really. But yeah, in terms of how's going, a lot of times, Nate, I don't have breakfast in the morning, so a couple of times when I'm training, I start getting a bit lightheaded. So I know in that mini fridge there is a massive selection of chocolates in there.
Yeah, 100%. It was the same when I was at Bromsgrove. I got called in. Well, to be fair, I got called in a couple of times for overindulging and going out and enjoying myself on a Friday night, which obviously I don't do now.
We don't condone that to young kids either.
Yeah, if you're listening, you're young. Don't bother doing that. Stay in school. You live longer. Trust me. Yeah, I can remember Brent calling me in a couple of times. Me getting caught, like fined. The one time I can remember getting my head kicked in by about 12 geezers. Walked in, wanted to play, and you couldn't recognise me. I looked like the bloke out of the Gooners, and there was no chance of that, so I had to miss that game. But it is what it is at the end of the day.
So that's a little insight about managers. I think if we could do little things like this, it just gives an insight to people that maybe is just fans who's never played or hasn't really played non-league, and be like, what's it actually like in a manager's office? So yeah, to be fair, I don't think a lot goes on in there really. Yeah, no, they just pick the team and then probably have a little chat in there.
Yeah, I reckon we could pass that question over to Nico in a sock, have a word with them, get a little insight of them, probably put a glass eye to sleep like, but at the end of the day, it's just, might as well find out, won't we?
And one of our last topics today, obviously, Houso in Coleshill. Sure, where do we start? We might as well call ourselves the tarmackers on the tack, Nate. I've had stuff like that all my life, but poor you has been dragged down to the old tarmac on the tack. What does that mean, Nate? We've been called that the other day off a person called Ian Smith. Now, whether he's real or whether he isn't, does he know something that I don't?
Probably, I don't know, to be honest. See, Rolf Harris, Jesus Christ.
That is a legendary as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not. Didn't some other geezer come up saying, "Oh, he's robbed me picture"? I was like, "What the fuck's going on here?" So we're getting trolled in by some random fat bloke wanking himself halfway a pack of fucking Watsits. Fuck knows, but yeah, tarmac is on the tack. It's not really a good thing to say, is it?
No, we're gonna have to change your name and all sorts.
Yeah.
So, Houso in Coleshill, Nate. Do you know what it is? When the 2 games that we've lost in the league, is it 2 or 3? I can't remember before that. 3 games. 2 games before that. I come off the pitch and yeah, you're disappointed, but it didn't hurt because I felt like we deserved the loss. This one hurt. I thought dominating the game. You could blame Craigo because technically they were winning. They bring me on and then they lose. So I could take a bit of blame for that. But yeah, I think that one hurt, and I think it was safe to say the Coleshill celebrations next door. I don't think that we forget that in a while. I think we can't wait to play them at our place now. I've got to be careful what I'm saying here. Even though individual errors cost us the weekend, and we've got to blame ourselves, I don't think the ref had his best game, Nath. In all accounts, I think he was very, very, very poor. In the first half, their left back raised both his hands and laid it on Brad Birch's chin. Now, I was on the bench at the time and I was speaking to their manager, and their manager said, "What is he doing?" He said, "That's a red card." He said he's got no excuse. Now, to give a yellow card, for me, you've either not seen it and it's not a yellow card and it's not a red, or you've seen it. If you've seen it or your linesman's seen it, it's a red card.
100%. And the lino was only 4 yards away from it, and the ref probably only a tiny bit more than that. And like you said, rules are rules at the end of the day. Violent conduct, whatever it's classed as in football, which obviously, you know, in certain aspects it can be soft or whatever, but this was a clear red, and I still can't get my head over how bad his performance was. Obviously, they had a couple of obviously decisions given to them, but the majority of the game he was very favourable towards the home side. like you said, individual errors cost us the game, full stop, and we're at fault for that, and we take that as a team, and it is what it is. But that little gremlin of a ref, oh my God! I said, don't get me started. Just don't get me started, mate.
Ooh, just to let you know, I haven't said that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
And on the other end, we were 2-1 up. Sim goes through, he rounds the keeper. He has no excuse at all to go down. He goes down, it is a blatant penalty. I am 10 yards away from the action. But I think, even though you're 2-1 up, and I think you go 3-1 up, Nave, I think game over. But then decisions like that don't go your way, and then you get another penalty. Then all the emphasis is on you then. Like I said, they've scored 2 penalties, and they've scored from a free kick. So, apart from that, I can't remember Platty, off the top of my head, making a save.
No, he never. And we look back at the goals. It's pointless us discussing it because we discussed that as a group inside training and everything else. So we know what we need to obviously work on in terms of the future. But no, he didn't make one save apart from clothesline and the striker for the first one.
That was his best save.
That was about it. But yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I want to obviously tap up on, I know the things I put on Twitter will get a reaction from every team we play. That's fine, I'm big enough and ugly enough to take it. But the things that really I can't get my head around is every away game or home game, without fail, I will walk through that clubhouse. I will walk up with my chin up and I'll speak to the fans, I'll do whatever I've got to do. Why is it people always seems to want to out me when A, I've gone, or B, they don't say nothing to your face? Now, anything I put Twitter, I will say to people's face whether they like it or not. That's just me as a person. I don't understand people that's got to hide behind keyboards and type things that they would never dream of saying to your face.
That is very true, mate. And we know who it is. It is what it is. We're polite on their toes when we see them. But it does need to stop. I understand they pay to watch us and they right to their opinion, and that's fair enough. But to put it all over Twitter, then be all nice to your face, but not talk to you about that issue, which would respect them more so if they did, is a bit of a backstabbing, to be honest. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
The only positive that we could take from that loss, if there is a positive, Nate, is we played really, really well. And I think the fans, normally when you lose, you do get a bit of, oh, well, we've bottled it, blah, blah. And all the comments I was seeing was they were very happy with the performance, really. It was a dominant performance. These things happen. The only positive that we can take of it is we've got a massive game Saturday, Stamford away. First v second. Yeah, ideally, if we would have won that game, we would have been going there top of the league. But the only thing we could take out of it, which is a positive, if we go get a result there and beat Stamford the weekend, that puts us back on top of the pile. One more league game in November, and then if you're still top, you would have took that before we kicked the ball.
100%. At the end of the day, it's still a positive season so far. It's fine tuning. You've got to learn from these things, especially Saturday. We've got to go into Saturday with better attitude, knowing what our jobs are, and make sure we take the 3 points.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. So, fingers crossed, Stamford the weekend. Positive performance, positive results, and we're back on the train, Nath. Back on the train. But yeah, choo-choo. Thanks for listening, as always. What they got to do, Nath? You love this bit?
You got to subscribe dafters.
You got to subscribe dafters. Thanks for listening, as always. Ciao for now.